Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday, and today I have for you the subject of the one ring of power is Jesus. And why do I say this? Why do I say that Jesus is the one ring of power? Well, I will recite to a little poem. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. And in case there's those of you who are not familiar with Lord of the Rings, Mordor is a combination of the French Latin word mort, which means death, and the word murder. So it's Mordor. It's death plus murder. And there's been many murders committed over Jesus in the past 2,000 years or so. And it's a sad thing. It's too bad that there were so many murders, because it was a sad time in the history of our world when people committed murders over Jesus. And he even said, I come not to bring peace but a sword, and I come to turn son against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a wife against her husband, and I come to bring division. And he admitted it. So, what can we draw from this? He's a human one ring of power, and he corrupts everything he touches. Jesus corrupts everything he touches. And he makes Christians think that non-Christians aren't even human, that they don't have feelings of joy or love, that they're actually dead. I heard one Christian one time say, non-Christians are dead inside. And he said this, and he actually believed it. And he was a nice guy otherwise, but he was terrible with his beliefs about Christianity and about non-Christians. So, we cannot allow Christianity to corrupt us. We must resist. We must resist Christianity with both fists. And I would like to tell you a little story about how I resisted Christianity recently. My mom heard about a job. And it was a job at a nursing home, in a nursing home type setting. And I want a job really badly. So I thought about getting the job, and I thought about it, and then I called the place and set up an interview with them. And I was actually going to go in on one of the coldest days of the year for an interview, thinking that job was as good as mine, because I had gotten an interview and I was in the sack. And I prepared all that day. I read about interview questions so I would be prepared for anything that the interviewer might throw my way. And I was ready to get a job. But then I began researching the place, because, they do recommend that you do your due diligence and research a place before you work there, so that you can answer a question like, what do you know about our company? So I did my research, and they offer spiritual services to their residents, and that makes them a church. So I was actually going to go work for what was basically a Christian church, just feeding food to elderly people, because it was like a nursing home, but it was like a Christian church. And that night, I could not get any sleep at all, not one wink of sleep. I was up all night thinking about what I would do if they asked me the question at the interview. If they asked me, are you a Christian? Are you saved? Do you believe in the saving grace of our Lord Jesus Christ? Those sorts of questions. I was really worried, and I knew that I would answer sarcastically and that I wouldn't get the job. And I worried about it and worried some more. And I thought about all the things I would say about Christianity that I object to. And I knew that it was not a good fit for me. So the next day, bright and early at 9 a.m., I called the place and I canceled the interview for that day. And it was just as well because it was the coldest day of the year. I would have frozen my toes off. But I had to cancel. I couldn't go through with it. It was just too much for me to deal with. And I have PTSD because of the way Christians have treated me before on the job. Before on the job, there were at least 2 different jobs where I was discriminated against by Christians. And one of the jobs, I didn't tell them I was a non-Christian, but they found out anyway from my former employer by talking with her. So then I was harassed both places. And I never forgot it. I can't live like that. I can't be untrue to myself. I can't deal with it, and I can't lie to them. I cannot lie about Goddess. So I decided right then and there that was not the job for me. I'm sorry my mom ever showed me the job, but she was just trying to be helpful. She was trying to help me get a job. And it would have been a great job except for them being Christian organization. And that they would have asked me that question eventually and really gotten on my case. So I'm glad I didn't take that job. I'm glad that I passed it up. Even though they're not supposed to discriminate and they're not supposed to ask questions about your religion. If they're a Christian organization, they will. So that's it. And as far as Jesus being a human one ring of power, I want to leave you with something. It's Gollum Song. Gollum Song is from the Two Towers, the movie. It's Gollum Song sounds just like Judas Iscariot talking to Jesus. It's just like what he would have said to him if he had had a chance to talk with Jesus. It was written for the Lord of the Rings, but it just sounds just like what Judas would say to Jesus. And I suggest you look up Gollum Song. It's a very haunting tune. You'll never forget it once you hear it. And it's at the end during the credits of the Two Towers. So if you want to hear it, you can hear it that way, or you can look it up on the internet. Either way is fine. And it's very haunting. He says, take back the lies, the hurt, the blame. And in the end, you'll be alone and weeping. And you have to hear the song. It's very moving in it. And it just captures perfectly how non-Christians feel about Jesus. Because he laid guilt trips. He put blame on people. He tried to make them feel guilty. And then he said that he was the solution to their guilt feelings. Once he created the problem, he solved it. A classic Hegelian philosophy. Crisis, reaction, and then subterfuge. Remember this, okay? Christianity is a cult. It's a very old cult, but it's still a cult. They call it a religion, but it's really a cult. And they warp people's minds and make them think a certain way where they just bulldoze over all individuality and make them all the same. So resist when you can. Do not give in. Fight the good fight. And I'll see you next time.